Hey there, this is Ryan Kingsline. Welcome to the comprehensive introduction to ZBrush 4. I had to put the word comprehensive in because this tutorial, this workshop, has a lot of information. But the one thing that you should know before we start is that the goal of this workshop is very specifically to introduce you to sculpting, get you sculpting as quickly as possible. As you need certain interface items, we'll be introducing them. But we are not going to go linearly step by step through all of these items. I prefer to introduce them as you need them and within context. So when we start ZBrush, the first thing we see is this screen. And one of the really important additions to ZBrush 4 is the addition of projects and then also a file palette or menu. Older ZBrush, they called these palettes. You can call these menus. Now, there are a lot of default projects that you can play with. There's some subsurface scattering with texturing, fibers. There's some timeline practice projects, demo soldier, the dog, and the default sphere. Let's take a second and look at Lightbox, which is what this is called, and see what features this really makes available to us. I'm going to close this tray. These are trays on the side of the interface, and this is going to allow me access to this full area here. We can make this 4 columns, 3 columns, 2 columns, 1 column. You can also access documents, tools, brushes. These are all the brushes that ship with ZBrush but are not in the interface. Putting these in the interface would have made the brush palette even more complex. Alphas, textures, these are all things that are stored in your root directory. That would be inside of the Pixelogic ZBrush 4.0 root directory here. Now, the alphas are in the Z alpha, brushes are here, ZDocs, materials. Here are your projects: cube, sphere, dog, subsurface scattering. So if you want to always have these, let's say, alphas accessible from Lightbox, just drag them into this area. You can also create a shortcut to other areas on your hard drive right in here, and you'll be able to access them from Lightbox. So let's close that out. Let's go back to the projects, and let's just load the default sphere. Double click and take a look at how we can rotate around the model and make sure that we're clear on just the basic navigation inside of ZBrush. Before we get started, note that the navigation is along the right of the canvas. So we have a canvas area, which is this area here, and then the interface is around it. We have trays. This is where we can put palettes. Notice that that's simply the tool palette. You can drag up and down, just click, drag up and down, just like 3D Studio Max. You can bring more menus to the tray. Just open a menu, click the swatch, and it sends it to the tray. You want to get rid of it, just click the title, drag it into the canvas, and it goes away. We have along the left, we have brushes, strokes, alphas, textures. We have materials. So this lets you change the look of your model. Give it a clay look. Now, there's also a color swatch here where you can just establish a general basic color. So the default sphere came in slightly gray. I'm going to just take that, drag it all the way up to white. And I like to work with matte cap gray when I get into the sculpting phase of things. Up here are my brush controls, which we're going to look at. And now let's get back to navigation. So again, move, scale, and rotate. These are not to be confused with move, scale, and rotate up here. A quick way to know the difference. Press and hold Control, and notice that the button path is transform, move. The button path is at the very bottom of this paragraph. I'll give you 1 sec to just read down there where it says at the very bottom, button path, transform, move. Now we come into move over here, and notice it says button path, transform, move, edit. And that's a quick introduction to how ZBrush stores information about each button. Each button has a command path. That's something you're going to need to know if you get into scripting. So these are going to be what we use to move the model around. Notice I'm just clicking, drag left, right, up, down. Scale, click, drag up, down. Not left or right. Left, right does or can do different things. But just try to remember up and down. Rotate, click, and drag around in a circle. Now, if you hold Control, you get a paragraph about these. And in that paragraph, well, a couple paragraphs, is the hotkey. So let's go to move. Very last paragraph, you can also move the object by holding Alt, clicking and dragging outside the object's surface. I'm pressing Alt, click, move left, move right. Let's go to rotate. Hold Shift key while rotating to snap the object to the nearest 90-degree angle. But to actually just rotate, all we have to do is just click outside the model. So here I am just clicking outside and dragging it. If I click on the model, ZBrush thinks I want to sculpt. Control Z is undo. So I click outside to rotate. But what it just told me was that I can actually snap this to a front view. I've got to start dragging it towards the front, press the Shift key, lift my pen up, let go of the Shift key. So again, let's go to the side view. I'm going to click and drag towards the side view, press and hold Shift, lift the pen, let go of the Shift key, and we're done. Click and drag towards the top, press and hold the Shift key, lift the pen, let go of Shift. Do that a few times and it's second nature. I do it all the time. Where people run into problems is they'll press Shift and they'll start cycling around like this, which produces unpredictable results. Let go of Shift. Get yourself close to that view. Start the rotating process. Then press Shift. Then let go of the pen. Then let go of Shift. Last one. It's the Richard Simmons of hotkeys here. Scale. Highly recommend that you practice this for 5 to 10 minutes. Practice the hotkey, I mean. Press Alt, press and hold Alt, click. Now see I'm moving around. Then lift the Alt key, just let go of it, drag up and down, and then lift the pen. So again, Alt, click, lift Alt, up and down. Whoops. Alt, click, lift Alt, up and down. Alt, click, lift Alt, up and down. Okay. Now to frame your model, you just press F, and it'll frame that model within the ZBrush canvas. Let's undo that sculpt and start to look at the brushes that we're going to need to start to sculpt. The first brush we're going to take a look at is the Move brush. That's in the Move palette. And all we've got to do is navigate to the Move. It's going to take a second to find it. But keep in mind that with this brush palette, you can always, while it's open, just press the letter of the brush that you want, the first letter, M for move. And there we go. A final thing I should add before we get into the sculpting process is if you have Lightbox open, you can either close it by clicking Lightbox or just comma. Comma will open and close it. So if you need to get it out of your way quickly, just hit the comma key.